Lean Six Sigma is often mentioned in one breath, but they are actually two different systems. Now they work together perfectly, but it's good to know a bit about what are those two separately, what are they not, how to use them together, and how to do it independently if you want to. Hello, I'm Tom. Welcome to my channel where we talk about continuous improvement in an industrial setting. And today's video is about Lean and Six Sigma, which are basically the foundation of continuous improvement, you could say. There are many tools that are linked to one or another. There are philosophies, but the two main streams really are Lean, Six Sigma, and the combination Lean Six Sigma. Now, what are those two? I think it is good to realize that they approach processes and factories from a pretty different lens. So they do not make natural allies when you are going for a cultural change. They will be very strong if you implement them in a good way together, but it's definitely not needed, and also maybe not in all organizations the best way to try and do it at the same time. So let's take a step back and look at what are these two. Now, Lean is all about flow of your product. It really focuses on product, but Six Sigma will also focus on the product a lot. Lean is about flow of product through your factory and through your whole supply chain, and it makes sure that you are not wasting anything. And it looks at a number of lenses on how to eliminate the waste from your system. And it does it with the three types of waste. Formerly Muda is the only real waste, but the three types of problems that you have with the flow in your system. And we have Muri, which are overburdens. So when we are taxing our machines or our people so much that they basically cannot make good processes for long. Mura is unevenness in our production. So one day you get a lot of a single product and the next day you hardly get anything, or maybe there is a very high production the one day and almost no production at all the next day. And this way you never really know what will be coming tomorrow in a week. So you get big differences in stock levels, in machine load, in which types of training and operators you need. And basically it usually leads to overburden on the peaks and waiting, which is one of the Muda, on the lower days. And now the Muda, these are, well, I think the most well known. These are the famous 7 wastes of Lean. So here you have those things like overproduction and defects and transport and waiting. They are all in here. But to really get Lean in there, you need to combine all of them. Now, Six Sigma is also looking at the product, but it's really looking at the process making your product and how capable is that process. And what that means is how well can we ensure that the product that we make meets specifications. So it's not really bothered all that much by are we pushing too much or are there wastes in the process. No, it's really checking how well can we stay within specifications. And to, well, not make the specifications too broad or spend too much money, they really go in a Six Sigma approach for stability. So that's the way that you improve your processes. You make it very stable, and then you get a capable process. Now, what we often see with Six Sigma is, and for this I will have to draw sort of a histogram, a bell curve. You may have seen the picture, maybe not, but I'll explain it a bit also in a bit. So what we have here is a specification range. So we have a parameter of our product. And what it means is that most of the product is made here, which is the mean. And fewer products are quite far from the mean on the left side or on the right side. Now, what Six Sigma wants to do is it says we will check these borders in a statistical way, and based on the distribution that we see of the product over our quality parameter, we check how many standard deviations our specification limits away from the mean of our production. And we check the smallest one. So these are the specification limits, and these are standard deviations in our process. Okay, in this graph, the standard deviation will have been a bit bigger. But the idea is that when you have 6 standard deviations between the mean of your production parameter and the specifications, you are certain to always be producing the correct product. And the reason why we take 6 standard deviations is because even when indeed it shifts a bit, you still do not expect hardly any products to fall outside of specs. And we know that there needs to be a certain amount of variation, of shift in your process before our systems can really notice it. What you will also often see, and this is where it is linked to CPK, to the capability index of your process, when you really have 6 standard deviations, this is really world class. And the link to CPK, but let's check other videos to really get into the direct link, but then you have a CPK of 2. Your process is twice as capable as is needed for the specs. And so basically CPK sort of says when you have 3 standard deviations, that is where 99% of your process fits. So that's basically all of your products. This is a less rigorous assumption than Six Sigma, so to say. Not too many companies are demanding that you really get to Six Sigma. So therefore, this one is a bit like what we know from, for instance, a 5Y analysis. The 5 is a sort of a broad goal number. In a 5Y analysis, it can be 4 or 5 or 6 Ys, but not 2. With Six Sigma, it is about the idea, the challenge that we want our processes to be so capable that they have 6 standard deviations between the mean and the nearest specification limit. But in practice, we know that it is also a journey towards that, and many companies are quite happy if they can have processes that have at least 3, but preferably 4 or 5 standard deviations. So 4 or 5 sigma in practice is already quite good, but that is where it comes from. The easiest way to get to Six Sigma is to just broaden your spec. But that, of course, will not lie too well in the market. Because if you say to your customers, you know, my processes, they are not that stable, let's make a very wide spec, you are putting your problems onto your customer. So the better way to improve your sigma level is if you can make your process more stable. So you reduce the variability in your process and keep the specification limits the same. And that way you are fixing the product, you are improving the process, and you are better serving your customers. And those companies that can really do this well, they will get a big edge in the marketplace. So that is the difference in approach between Lean and Six Sigma. Really focused on flow, reducing wastes, making a very optimal process, versus really focused on making a process that always makes the correct product. Now these two together are of course wonderful, because if you have very stable processes, then it's much easier to also improve them. But on the other hand, if you have processes that you are not overburdening with too much load, too much work, and that you have a nice evenness in your planning, it is of course also much easier to align your processes, your machines, everything to make sure that things are stable. Now they both rely a lot on standards. So this is really about standard settings, standard material, standard way of working, and making sure that everything becomes very stable. For Lean, you really need standard ways of working to remove the wastes, nice standards in your production planning, in your machine load. So also really based on working from standards. That's why they can work together very well in building a Lean Six Sigma culture. On the other hand, when we're looking at a company where there is more than enough production capacity, and maybe the capacity isn't even that expensive, but it's very, very important that what you make is absolutely perfect, then it's natural to first really focus on the Six Sigma way of thinking. So this can, for instance, be in aerospace or in pharma, where you know that you have no room for any problem with your product, focusing first on making sure that you have the most stable processes you can make is a logical choice. And afterwards, Lean is still a very good option, and those companies are really also moving into Lean. When the specifications of your product, well, they are maybe not that difficult or not that important. We are in a market where quality is more of a fluid thing, and it doesn't really matter that, for instance, parts fit exactly one into another. Much of the food industry is actually like this. The Lean side of this equation becomes much more interesting. So making sure that you are using your equipment in an effective way, not overburdening it, removing problems, removing inefficiencies from your processes so that you can make sure that your equipment can produce more products, so your capital investment can produce more profitable products. That is really key. And for some specific parts, you will go also to much more this Six Sigma level of stability, process capability afterwards. Now, one of the things that are not absolutely needed for either, but you hear a lot in combination with these two, and it can be a great building stone for both of them, is the Kaizen approach. It really fits with both Lean and Six Sigma, and the Kaizen approach is all about making small steps. So remember that I said that both systems strongly rely on you having standards, so work standards, setting standards, material standards. The Kaizen approach takes those standards, and every day you check, can we improve it a little bit? Can we tinker it a little bit? Can we make our processes go just a bit more smoothly? Can we make the operator's workplace a bit more economic to work in? Can we tune a setting just a bit more? And every day you make an improvement, you fix that improvement, it becomes your new reality. And this way of working, it's really often paired with Lean because it always fits with this idea of working. It doesn't always fit with Six Sigma because the other way to do this is to have some really smart engineers get into calculating everything that is to calculate about the machine, which is a very good start to Six Sigma. But also afterwards, you want to be able to improve a little bit every day, make sure that these systems get better. This way we get a bit of an overview. What actually is Lean? What is Six Sigma? What are they trying to do? And how does this Kaizen fit into all of them? Because, well, you will have heard also the Kaizen events, the Lean Six Sigma black belts. These terms, they are being meshed together quite a bit. They don't have to be implemented at the same time. You don't need all of them in the same organization, although usually sooner or later they will find their way into the system because they all fit together and really build on one another. Now, if you like this explanation of our concepts, don't forget to hit that like button. Also, drop me a comment if you want me to explain more of our terms that we use within continuous improvement, performance excellence. I'll be happy to make additional videos about those. And for now, I wish you the best of luck in your culture change and your improvement implementations. But as always, don't forget to enjoy the improvement journey.